What's up, everybody? Welcome to Water. My name is Tyler, and I'm your real-life remembrancer. And today, we're checking out my thoughts on the squats. Let's jump into it. So, as you all have undoubtedly seen by now, Games Workshop has officially announced the return of the squats, now referred to as the Leagues of Votann. Now, I'm not super sure about this name. Obviously, most people will just refer to them as the squats, but it'll be interesting to see what the newer side of the community ends up calling them for shorthand, because obviously, if you're relatively new to the hobby, then you don't really know the Eldar is the Eldar or Dark Eldar, right? You know Eldari and Drukhari, and that's the only name in your brain. So it'll be interesting to see if people, when they refer to their own army and stuff, like, oh, I play Leagues, or oh, I play Kin, or I hope they don't end up calling them the Votann, because that's like not their name. But Arbiter Ian is a YouTube channel who made some comments about the origins of the names of the Leagues of Votann, and I definitely recommend you go check out his channel. It's very good, and also check out that video on the squats, his video on the squats rather, to learn why this is a curious decision from Games Workshop for sure. But yeah, definitely interested to see what people end up calling these. So all I want to do today really is talk about my initial impressions of what we've seen so far, which obviously isn't very much, and just talk about like what I would kind of hope to see from the faction. Obviously, some people aren't super stoked that Games Workshop is adding new factions to begin with. Obviously, newer people to the hobby might have some choice paralysis already. There's already a lot of factions to choose from, especially compared to like other war games. But I just think more is better. One thing we can always trust Games Workshop to do is to like put the effort in and to like release a complete range and everything like that. So I think overall it's okay. We have space orcs and space elves. I've always felt we needed space dwarves. I'm actually just like a big fan of fantasy dwarves in general. And so while I didn't start messing with 40k until around 3rd/4th edition, like end of 3rd, start of 4th edition, so I never like played with the squats or anything, but I was close enough to that history to have heard of them throughout the years and everything. And so I thought I was going to be super excited when they said that they were bringing them back. But ultimately, after seeing this model and also some of the, or I guess it's up here, some of the character art and everything like that, I can't say I'm super stoked. However, the important thing to remember is that we've literally seen only one model. And I think Games Workshop does have a habit of kind of showing off the like least interesting model, or at least like a super basic model whenever they show something off for the first time and it's just one guy out of a whole squad. So I'm hoping this guy is like as generic as it gets. But I have a bunch of tabs open and we're going to kind of flick through, and I want to kind of show you how I think Games Workshop missed and why I'm not interested in these guys nearly as much as I had hoped to be. So the first thing I have pulled up here is just this little article that Games Workshop released, the saga of the squats and everything. And they kind of talk about, originally they're just called the Space Dwarves. And this look is the kind of look that I think everybody knew was not going to come back, right? So the sort of like Imperial Guard version of dwarves, I definitely think is not the way they should have gone. And I think a lot of people knew going into this that was not going to be the case. However, obviously we do see some development. It gets into more of like the biker gang style and everything like that. Obviously in Epic, they had a bunch of the vehicles released and everything. We'll talk about those in a minute. You have this really iconic image. And so this is one thing that I want to talk about is like the consensus seems to be that the reason the squats got squatted is because the fantasy space dwarf motif did not translate well into sci-fi, and therefore they just kind of failed, right? Like they didn't have the same presence that the other races did, and people did not gravitate towards them. And if you look at this image, I think you can kind of see why, right? Because this is a very like traditional dwarven style, just with like space gear, right? So you have like this runic kind of Celtic dwarven axe, but it just has like the 40k power things on it, and it just like it's a power axe. But it's not a power axe, right? It doesn't look like the power axes that like the other like that Space Marines have. It's like a Celtic dwarven axe with power. Then you kind of like look at the quilting and the gloves. It's like a lot of cloth and filigree, and that's not that weird for 40k, but it's definitely I don't know. I think that that's more of like a relic of the time that this artwork was made than it is like a how much it like really speaks to the aesthetic of the race. But really, this tank is where you can kind of see it all, and this tank is super cool. We'll look at this in a little bit, but the dwarven hammers that are across here, and like the runes and stuff, and just the overall aesthetic is still very fantasy dwarves, right? It's like this is like a fantasy dwarf icon that's superimposed on top of a sci-fi tank. And that was like the biggest complaint about the squats, and pretty much why they're gone. And also, when the rumors came out about squats and everything, the consensus in the community generally was like, we're not going to get this. Whatever we get, it's not going to be this again. And I think that was the right choice by Games Workshop, was to not do this again. However, the choices that they have made, at least based on the model that we've seen, I think are super lame. So let's get further down into it. So here's an example just of, I don't actually know what these are. I pulled a bunch of images off of Google. Some of them I know are official, squats models. Others are going to be like third-party stand-ins for people that wanted to keep playing like Space Dwarves and stuff. So I think these are like third-party models. Feel free to correct me in the comments. They are on GW looking bases, but that's obviously probably just a result of them being proxies. But this I think falls in line with the sort of aesthetic of like Space Dwarf, and I can see why we did not get something like this. And I'm kind of glad we didn't get something like this, because again, this aesthetic to me is really like Solar Auxilia / Imperial Guard, kind of like, just, but except they're dwarves, right? They have beards and they're short, but they're still wearing that type of equipment. And so again, this, I kind of want this. I kind of like this, but I can see why we didn't get it. This is a repeat of that image. If you look at this image, this is some like fan art that somebody did as like human variants, Space Dwarf squats. So you can see there's kind of like different references to Space Marines and stuff like that. So you've got this guy wearing a psychic hood, and you've got this guy that's clearly based on the salamanders and everything like that. But I just thought that these were some cool ideas in general. I would love to see like something like this from a character model. I do think that, they should generally get away from like the Space Dwarf motif or like the general force. I still want to see some of it. I still want that to be the vibe. And I think doing like a psyker character like this that just kind of slots into the army doesn't really match in the same way that other, sometimes other individual characters don't really like match the overall aesthetic of the army, but you still, they kind of like fit in, they're there. I think that a character like this would be super sick for that. These are some kit batches that I pulled off online, and this is getting closer to what I was hoping for. It's still a little too dwarfy. Obviously, it's using parts from the Carderon Overlords. I don't know how to say it in particular, but the AOS dwarves, one of the AOS dwarves. But you can see he's got like a plasma shotgun, it looks like, and some sort of bolter or something here. But I kind of like, I like the axe, and I like some of the like dwarven iconography. I like the helmets, but again, it's still the goggles, leather, beard look. And again, I kind of want that, but I understand why we didn't get it. This is that tank that we were looking at earlier. Here, I'll make it bigger. They have to make this. Sorry if I just shouted they, but they absolutely have to make this for the army. And if they don't make this, or obviously they're not going to make it exactly like this because it looks goofy as hell, but if they don't make some form of this, Like, I think that's a huge miss. If they're just like, you know what, we're going to completely do away with all of the tropes and aesthetics from the original squats, and we're going to do everything completely out of the blue, whatever we want, that's going to be disappointing to me. I understand that they need to update everything to fit into the aesthetic tone. So this might look more like a Tau vehicle than what it does now in the end. But the concept behind it of having the giant, weapon on the bottom and the giant weapon on the top, and it's like a tower, and the missiles on the side, like all of those concepts need to be there, or I'm going to be severely disappointed. This is the land train from Epic, and as much as I want a land train, there's no way they're making this. There's just no way we're gonna get this. The model would just be unseemly to move around the board, and like, it was clearly an awesome design for Epic. It is something that I would love to see. I would give anything to see it. But guys, we're not going to see it. I'm just going to put that one to bed right now. We're not going to see the land train. We'll be lucky if we get the other one. Oh, I closed it out. But not the land train. So the interesting thing here is we got 2 squats, right? Everybody has seen these. These were in the NECROMUNDA release. I guess it's been a few years now, right? This is starting to get a little closer to what I had expected them to be, because they literally are squats, and they're modern, and like Games Workshop made this decision in the modern timescape, and so to completely deviate from it is a little shocking to me. And I don't know, maybe they won't, maybe really this stylization that they have is more of a NECROMUNDA stylization, and it has more to do with them being in Necromunda than it does with them being squats, I guess is what I'm getting at. Maybe none of this gear is squat gear, right? It's all repurposed, stuff like that. But a theme that we'll get to in a little bit that I want you to remember and be keen on is this quilted armor, because that is something that's missing. This is a rumor engine that we got, and I think it's interesting because if you compare it to the image that we have, this guy, he has kind of it almost looks like a Vox. It's got like little indentations on his kneecap, and then it's obviously down to a foot here. And can you see from the side? I guess you can't see from the side, but oh my god, I've gone way too far. You can see this whole section here is armored, and if we look here, he's got the little kneecap that's armored, but it's like a cloth or leather pant leg, and this is an armored leg. So I'm interested to see. Obviously, the foot matches, so it's definitely like an infantry style of model. But I'm interested to see, is it just that some of the infantry, like, in the same way that they have these robot-looking feet, is it just some of them have robot-looking legs too? And it's like a bionic leg, basically? That's what I'm asking, really. Is this a bionic leg, or is this armor? Because if it's armor, this might be like an elite or something. But that's definitely something interesting to keep your eye on. The front kneecap here is completely flat and has these studs, as does the rest of the armored part of the leg. And here you can see there's like no studs, and it's just like it got a different thing going on. So that's pretty interesting. If we take a look at this is, as far as I'm aware, an official old squat model. And this starts to get to where I kind of thought it would be what they actually look like. Obviously not literally. Right, this looks like trash. This guy can't even walk around. He's basically just an egg with shoulder pads. That's not what I'm saying. But the silhouette is important. And I think that recognizing the silhouette of these shoulder pads is going to come into play when I continue on here. So if we zoom out here, this is a kit bash that somebody did with a lot of the AOS dwarves. I just thought it was super cool, and I really thought that this armor in particular, like, come on, this is way better than this, dude. Like, I get that it's fantasy, okay, I get it that it's like AOS, but you don't got to do me like this. Like, this guy is just like a freaking space marine wearing cloth, and he's a dwarf. And then you've got this guy. Look at the plating on the front and the, oh my god, it looks so cool. I would have given anything to see them look more like this. I'm really hoping that we get characters like this. I don't expect to see this facial aesthetic or the nautical aesthetic, because that's obviously part of the Cardron overlords and not the squats. But if you take some of the steampunk out of here, you get rid of these pipes here, you get rid of some of the vents and everything, you change up the face to a more modern helmet design, and you change this to a plasma pistol, and all of a sudden you're looking at what should have been the squats in 40k, in my opinion. And these guys down here are wearing like little mini dwarven space marine army. I don't know how with the Paul. I just noticed that, actually. I was only looking at this guy before. I just noticed these guys look super cool. So yeah, I don't know where this guy got all these bits, or if these are just like green stuff masterpieces or what, but this thing is cool. And this whole bottom section of armor is like 1000% what I would have preferred to see than what we got. So anyway, let's continue. This obviously is very in line with this guy. It's probably the same guy, right? Yeah, it's the same guy. So again, this quilted armor is something that I want to point out. This is one more old squats model, and again, I just want to reference the first of all, I think the drill is kind of cool. I want to reference the shoulder pad silhouette. So what we've got here is something that I saw on, I think I saw it on Twitter. I actually couldn't find this image, and the only reason I was able to find it was that I had sent it to somebody on Discord a few days ago, and I scrolled all the way back through the chat and found the image, thank God. So this guy photoshopped these changes to this squats model, and what I want to do is kind of flick back and forth between here. Well, I don't quite have it set up to where I can get them both showing at the same time. But if we just flip back and forth, so what you'll see what he's done is he's taken this cylindrical backpack and he's cut it in half, and then he's taken the hair off here and he's replaced it. And there's some other details, like he's got these little details here and on the gun. But what I really care about is the head and the shoulder pads. Right off the bat, this to me looks more like the actual release than the actual release that Games Workshop made. The reasons are twofold. The first is that they didn't want to go with the super space dwarf route. So we knew that the beards and the kind of faces and stuff were going to be a little bit more tame. And my issue with what they ended up going with, and Arbiter Ian points out too, that this hairstyle is going to go out of style very quickly, because this is like a literal 2021 2022 hairstyle. I think this whole head is an absolute joke. I'm very interested to see what their helmets look like. I think that's going to make a huge impact on what the army looks like as a whole, so I'm looking forward to that. It does seem from their artwork that they don't have helmets, that the idea is that this is like a clear shell, like a Buzz Lightyear shell. Whether the kits come with actual plastic shells like they do for like the old Eldar vehicle kits and stuff, or if people are going to have to print third-party bits to get the shell, or Games Workshop just expects you to imagine that the shell is there, or maybe they do have helmets. I am praying that they have helmets. Oh my god, I am praying they have helmets. But if we flick over to this guy, right off the bat, you can see the head feels very dwarven, because the lines in his head and everything, even though they're technological, they kind of give off the vibe of like Celtic tattoos and stuff. And the band across his forehead, like, it's a very like futuristic look that fits very well with like dwarven aesthetics in general. I just think it's miles better than what we saw. So I'm hoping that the army does have some aesthetics like that. And then the shoulders, like I mentioned, you know, there's these old squats models that have this kind of half cylinder shoulder. Sorry, this guy's got it as well. And it just seems so obvious to me that this is how they should have done it. And another thing is that by adding the backpack back here, you kind of create the silhouette. They're squats, right? They're supposed to be squatty. And this silhouette makes them look taller than they are and not as wide because the ratio of their proportions is more slender. And if you just don't have this at all, which why do they have this giant backpack power pack thingy? Like, this is like a Space Marine thing, dude. They don't need this. Whatever. Obviously, they might have some lore explanation, but I don't really care what it is. I think it's lame. I think that they don't need this backpack. It just makes them look not squatty. And anyway, if we go back to this guy, you can see by splitting this backpack and making it into shoulder pads, he's made a more squatted silhouette. So the shoulders are slightly wider because the other shoulders were curved like this. And so because it comes out to a 90-degree angle like this, the overall silhouette is shorter and wider, and it looks like a squat, right? This is clearly defined next to this, I must just call this Death Guard. Wow. How am I blanking on? The Death Corps of Krieg. Wow, that was embarrassing. But you can see compared to him, he looks like a squat. He looks like a dwarf. And if you were to have this backpack in that image, just kind of imagine a few more pixels, all of a sudden you're up to the eye line, right? The backpack's up to the eye line of the Imperial Guard, of the Death Corps Krieg. And I just, if the backpack is only a few inches above their head and the backpack is at the eye line, that doesn't make, they don't feel very short, right? But now his head is down by his, you know, the top of his chest and the bottom of his chin, and that's the whole silhouette. And so the whole silhouette feels more squatty and more in line size-wise. So anyway, the little details and stuff, that's just like aesthetics. But when I saw this image, it just, the whole point of making this video was to show off this picture. Because when I saw this picture, it hit me like when I saw the original release, I was like, okay, I think it looks good, but something's wrong. Something's wrong with it. Like, what's wrong with it? And what's wrong with it, I think, is the backpack and the shoulder pad design. And then the final point that I'll make is something that I pointed out a couple times, which is the quilting. Why is there not quilting on the cloth material? Like, first of all, I don't know what this blue is. I hate it. Not to be super negative, but I don't like this blue at all. Obviously, you can paint the model however you want, but I don't know what this material is supposed to be. It looks weird, and I don't know why it's not quilted. And you could say, like, well, you could paint quilting on it, and you could. And if that was Games Workshop's intent, then just like the Harlequins, they would freehand the quilting on there. And I think if they had freehanded it on there and it wasn't on there in the mold, that would have been totally fine. You know, they would have said, hey, you know, lore-wise, they have this quilting. You know, lore-wise, the Harlequins have these diamond patterns on their clothes, but you can paint it however you want. I would have been super down with that, but they didn't do that. Ultimately, they did not carry over any motifs at all. Now, again, we have to see the squads. We have to see the vehicles. They could completely, you know, blow us away with everything like that. Where's actually the logo? I want to show you guys real quick the... Oh, gosh. I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? I want to show you guys the logo because I'm sure you've seen it, but... the logo is very dwarven. And so, again, if you're going to get rid of the aesthetics of the Is it in here? No, of course not. It's not in here at all. It's on Twitter, isn't it? Okay. Well, the point that I'm trying to make is I'm going to dox myself here. Let's not do that. The thing is this logo is completely dwarven, and I don't understand why, if they're going to just completely do away with the dwarven aesthetics and the dwarven motifs, here it is, then why is this the logo? Because this is like a Celtic dwarven sigil. So I'm a little frustrated. And I'm a little confused and concerned because the first image that we got is not a squat. It just isn't. It's just like a short guy in generic space armor. But this being the symbol for the race is extremely dwarven and extremely fantasy, by the way. This is if you said to somebody, is this a fantasy logo or a sci-fi logo, and they had no idea what they were looking at, they'd be like, fantasy, I guess. You know, it's a dwarf. So I'll be interested to see. Obviously, this guy has the long beard. I'll be interested to see. I don't know what. I just heard some sounds. That was weird. I'll be interested to see, you know, do they actually have dwarven motifs? When we see the rest of the squad, is this going to be the only guy that has the short 2021, 2022, you know, boy haircut? And really, you know, lots of them have beards and all that. That could be entirely possible. We'll just have to wait and see. But I've rambled on enough. Thank you for listening, everybody. Again, this is, where do you go? This is my ideal. I wish it looked like this. If it had looked like this, I would be banging down the door right now talking about how smart Games Workshop is and how good these look and how they retained the aesthetic of the shoulders and the general silhouette of the old models, but completely modernized them. I'd be singing their praises left, right, and center. But I just can't, because we, you know, instead we got this guy, and this guy doesn't know what he is. So anyway, I hope that wasn't too negative. I don't want to be a negative Nancy. Again, I'm glad they added them. I think that some of the stuff is probably going to look really cool. Just a lot of Games Workshop vehicles and stuff look cool. I hope their tanks look cool and stuff like that. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But definitely let me know your opinions down below. Are you glad that Games Workshop brought back the squats? Would you have preferred to see a different race altogether? Or, you know, are you glad they brought back squats, but you're kind of in the same camp as me, as you don't really understand the aesthetic choices that they've made? I definitely want to hear from you guys, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.